Alright, so we're going to create something that looks like this. It's a New Year's Eve countdown, and all the text is coming in from TouchDesigner. So the premise behind this is, rather than trying to have a video that counts down on the right time, this will take it from the system clock and count down exactly in time to how your computer clock is set. And by sending it as OSC values into Resolume rather than a video file, we can rearrange the text, change the font, move it around as much as we need on the fly. To start off, we're going to put a shape in here. So we need a source of some sort. We'll do a shape generator. We don't need a middle color, so we'll take out the alpha. And let's use a rectangle. And now for the text. It's good to know that you can stack as many text blocks as you want anywhere in Resolume. So you can stack text blocks in the composition, on a layer, or on a file. So for this one, I'm going to stack them on the file. So if we want a text block effect, we want 4 of those. One for day, hours, minutes, and seconds. You could use just hours, or even just minutes and seconds, or even just seconds if you want to count down for that last minute. I'm going to use all 4 in here. I'm using Resolume 7, which means I can actually rename each of these as well. So I'll call that days, hours, minutes, and finally seconds. Alright, so we're looking at those. I'm just going to put a placeholder in. So I want 2 digits and days. Same for hours, minutes, and seconds. I'm going to change those. These will be brought in, but just so I can lay it out for now. Hours, 00 minutes, and seconds. And now I can position these wherever. So on the y-axis, I'm going to move days all the way up. Hours just under it, like that. Minutes just below, and seconds all the way down. So it's a bit off, but we could rearrange it a bit better. That'll do for now. So now I've got those 4 in there. That will sit nicely over any composition files we've got running in the background. We can fade that in as a layer all at once whenever we choose. So that can be running constantly in the background, and we'll just bring it in when we want to start counting down. So to send the actual time data, let's move over to TouchDesigner. So this is a brand new empty project. And the first thing we're going to need is a clock. So let's go to chop, clock chop. For our purposes, there's a lot more information here than necessary. So first of all, we don't need any of the solar information. So let's just delete all of those by just taking out the text in those fields. Clock, 24 hours what we need, correct. Milliseconds, we don't need it that accurate. Seconds, minute, hour, don't need AM, PM, don't need the day of the week, day of the month, because that's out of 365 days. Days elapsed, we don't need that. Don't need week, month, year. Leap year could be useful if you needed a change between 365 days or not, but this year we don't need to, so I'll take that out. Alright, so now we have our count up for the year. What we need to do is tell it to count down. First of all, we need to select out each of those parameters. So first up, we just want to separate the days. So channel day. Let's just call this channel day for reference. Copy that 4 times for all 4 parameters. Okay, so now we want hour. We'll call that channel hour. Minute. We'll call that channel minute. Or min. And finally seconds. So SEC, filter it. Oops. So if you've never used a select chop before, it is just filtering by the channel name and only selecting what's listed there. So now I just want to call this one channel second. All right. All we've done is separate that out into the individual channels. Next, we want to revert these into a countdown. So we need to use a math chop for that. Let's start with the day, bring in the value, and we're going to negate, we're going to remove, and we want to pull it from 365. So there technically is 2 days left. I'm now on the 30th, but because we're already counting down one of the days, we're going to post add a -1. I'm going to do that for everything because we're actually counting down inside that day. Let's rename this day count. If we copy that, disconnect it, bring in the hour count. Now where we're counting down from 365 days, we're counting down from a day which is 24 hours. So we'll change that to 24, and now it's counting down. Next, copy that down, disconnect it and connect the minutes, rename that to min count, and we're actually counting down 60 minutes an hour, so it's from 60. And finally, seconds. And that should be correct because it's the same. So let's change that to second count. So that should all make sense really simply. 53 plus 6 is 59 minutes, plus the minute that we're already counting in with the seconds. So that's why we do that -1 in the post add. There we go. So we're now counting down. Let's convert these into a DAT so we can use that information. So very simply, chop to DAT. And we just going to drag this whole chop. We want to tell it to be this reference chop in here. So drag it over and it'll drop it in. 1. Let's use the names as well, just to keep it simple. Day 1. And we'll do that for all of those. All right. Now let's combine these into a single DAT. So very simple DAT merge. Merge. And we want to do it in order, so we'll drag them in order. So 2, 3, 4. And we want it to go, right now it's doing it as a list. Append rows. Let's do it, make it append column. That way it'll keep going across. If you did get the order wrong, you can change the order here. So chop 2 up. So that's first, chop 2, 1 up. So you can rearrange the input order here, but this is perfect. Day, hour, minute, seconds. Easy. Let's make this something obvious. Countdown. Now we want to send this data into Resolume. And to do that, we need a couple of things. First of all, we need a send OSC DAT. So there is a send OSC chop, but if we want to send a string of text, which is what we're putting in a text field, we need to send it as a DAT. So OSC out, drop it in there. And port 7000, if we check in Resolume with our OSC preferences, incoming port 7000, localhost, it's all on the same computer. Easy. So localhost port 7000. So this is sending OSC data to Resolume. We don't pipe data into this. That's a sticking point. What we actually need to do is run an execute DAT to tell this to send data. So we need an execute or a DAT execute. And this is where we're going to need to do a bit of coding. So what we want to happen is we want every time this table changes, we want this to send data to Resolume. So we don't need any of the other ones on row change, we want it on table change. So we can delete these. On table change, it is going to send, it's going to execute this little script in here. So we need to start writing a script. So first we need to declare a few values. So let's call this day number, very simply, dnum for day number, and that will be operator, bracket, countdown, and close brackets to reference this operator countdown. And we want to pull it from cell 10. So we're actually, it references the row number before the column number. So we're going from row 1, column 0. There we go. And we can do the same for the rest. So we need a hnum. That'll be operator. Actually, let's just copy and paste that. A minute num. And a second num. Now just double checking these. For the hour, we need it to be row 1, column 1. So that should be 1, 1. Next one, row 1, column 2. So 1, 2. And finally, row 1, column 3. So that will be 1, 3. All right. So we're now pulling those numbers. We need to decide where we send these. So now we need a day path, which is our OSC path. And that we get from Resolume again. So if we go into this shape here, from our days, we want to find the OSC address to send to this box here. So now if we go shortcuts, edit OSC, click on that, it'll show up in here, this little pop-up dialog. And we want that first one, where it says layer 3. That's the direct address and not the selected clip address. We need that so it works no matter what the rest of the composition is doing. We can just paste that straight in there. We'll also need a H path for hours, a minute path, and a second path. Now for each of those, if we go back into Resolume, we'll see, if we go to hours, it's now TextBlock 2, minutes is TextBlock 3, and seconds is TextBlock 4 here. So I know that's all I need to change, the rest stays the same. So I can copy this, I'll drop it in for each of those, and change the text block according. So 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so now I've declared those values. We now need to run a little script to tell it to send that data to Resolume. So now we need to call operator, and that's, we're referencing this OSC out. 1 is what it's called. So this operator. And we're saying send, this is important, OSC in capitals. Send OSC, and we want to send, first we do tell the path, so D path, and then in square brackets, the string, which is D num. Sorry, no comma, close brackets, close brackets. Okay. Now, we also need to reference this table, so that's the DAT table here. So we'll drag that on there, and every second it should be telling this table to change. Okay, so we've sent it 1. Doesn't look like much, not much is changing because we've only sent the first part. We now need to do this. We need to send another OSC for each one of those. So same thing, we'll copy and paste this. Four times. We'll just change that to hour or H, M, and finally S, path, S, num for seconds. And now we can see that it's sending. We're counting down. It will take over that whole text block and erase what's already there. So if you do put anything in there, you'll see it just gets written over every time the OSC sends something in there. So if we want to add a name to it, we could do it like this. So we could just say plus days. And now that string's come in, but 1 days doesn't make sense. So what we'd like to do is create a much longer string, because we'd rather have 1 day, 0 days, etc. So we need to do an if statement in there. So this is going to make a lot more text in here, but it'll bring it across all the data. So you could just have that as numbers if you wished. Maybe you want to divide up, put it all in one, so you could just use the numbers directly. But for the sake of this, I'm going to build these out with if statements to change that extra text. So we've got right now D number. Now we want is an if statement. So if D number is equal to 1, then D text will be day. I'll put a space in there first, so we'll break it apart. Else, D text will be days. And the reason I'm doing for 1 is because the correct pronunciation for 0 days, you don't say 0 day, 0 days, there's 0 seconds left, 0 minutes left, not 0 minute left. So this way, only when it's at 1 will it change to day. Every other time it will change to days. And then finally, I want to combine those two. So let's call it, we're going to call it a string now, because it's actually a string. So dstr will be dnum plus dtext. Now, let's change dnum down here to dstr. So now we're actually sending this value over OSC. And we now have 1 day. So I'll quickly, same thing for the rest of them. If hnum is equal to 1, then, oh no, you need to indent after the if. Then hText will equal space hour. Else hText will equal hours. Now we'll define hstr will equal hnum plus hText. And so we want this now to be hstring. If we go back to Resolume, 8 hours. So the same thing for the rest of those. If num is noting equal, double equal sign is equal to, whereas 1 equal sign is declaring that as a variable. Num is equal to 1, then mtext will equal minute, else mtext will equal minutes, and mstr will be mnum plus mtext txt. mstr, and finally seconds. If snum is equal to 1, then stext will equal this only shot for 1 second, but we may as well do it anyway. Else stext will equal seconds. We'll change that here as well to SSTR. Oops, I forgot to declare that. SSTR equals snum plus stext txt. Okay, let's have a look back at Resolume. We're now counting down 45 seconds, minutes, hours, and singular day. We jump at seconds, 6 seconds, and we'll see the S disappear and then come back at 0. 1 second, 0 seconds, 59 seconds. There we go. And now I can play a video behind that. I might stick a quick drop shadow on just to make that text stand out. And move the seconds up. And there you go. Quick, accurate countdown for New Year's. Also, you could hide any of these as required, so as we lose the day, lose the hours, lose the minutes, and we're just on the seconds. And rearrange them as you need. Also, I'll keep a copy of this file in there for the download for reference. It does make it easier if you want to go through the script and pull it apart. Add some extra areas in there for you. And that's how you use it.